I will forget to set us live otherwise.
Right.
But I did not forget to set us live because here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are. I was gonna say I had beignets at Cafe Du Monde.
Oh my god. That's epic. That's what you do.
That's what you do. So the things that I didn't realize, first of all, they're cheap. It's less than $5 for an order of beignets, and you just walk up and you pay at the window, and you say like, "I want one order or two orders." They don't serve anything else. You just say like one order or two orders, and if you want coffee or not, and then you hand them some cash, and that's it. Like, and they are so good, and they're completely different from anything that I have ever had that calls itself a beignet.
That is awesome. And it figures that like the rest of the world wouldn't be able to do it because we are not Nolans.
We are not. And yeah, grits are completely different too. But the beignets were just a very so Bourbon Street was really overrated, and I was like, I don't know, is Cafe Du Monde going to be like touristy and overrated? But not a bit. I mean, touristy, yes, the lines were really long, but it's literally just a coffee stand.
Awesome.
Like, yeah.
Understated.
Yeah.
Close to its roots.
It is its own roots. Like, it's legit. There's a window where you order your coffee and beignets, and then there's some tables on the sidewalk. Like, that's it. There ain't no inside.
There you go. That is beautiful. I love. We're in case of viewers, it's Quinn's turn to read, but if their internet starts wigging out, we'll swap.
Oh yes. Yes, indeed.
And I'll be working on the balance dance illustrations, which are hanging up thusly. There's we're plugged in. Hang on. So you see all the gaps? Those are the illustrations I haven't done yet. And there's some that I'm going to probably redo after I get them all done, just because they do not please me. They please me not at all.
Fair.
I did my narration for my video today. If I can get the files to read properly, I shall have that out sometime soon.
Lovely. That's the third column, am I right?
Fourth. But the third column was just the two, those two rare earths, the scandium and the yttrium.
I was going to say, I feel like I missed that video. I have to go back in my... I got behind on some YouTube, so I got to go back in my subscriptions and go find that.
Do it. It's been like a month. I kind of suck at getting these out, but when I'm doing a whole column at once, I have like 16 hours of footage to go through. So,
indeed.
Yeah.
All right. Getting comfy.
As am I. My table is more clean than usual because I had to do some sewing this week, so I had to trundle off all the crap that I have been piling up here for ages. It was funny. Bronwyn's prom dress didn't fit her.
Oh, I have only the straps left to do on my 1920s sewing project, and that's like 5 seconds of work, and it's been like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I hear that.
Soon
Story
I must do
of my
this
life. Like, come on, there's so little to do, and yet
it's the last 5 minutes or the last like one step of anything is the hardest.
It is.
Okay. Where were we at?
Not to take anything away from the 50,000 middle steps. Those suck too.
They do, but they don't trip me up as often as the last step. Yeah. For whatever reason. Okay.
I hear that.
Were we at take command in the Lord's absence? Does that sound right?
I will take a look. Burn him alive, gone to the tombs, take command in the Lord's absence.
That's what I thought. My hair is getting long enough to be annoying again. Huzzah.
You who
All right.
what?
Oh, my hair's just falling in my face, and I was saying it's getting long enough to be annoying again. Huzzah. I need a haircut of some sort.
Right. I'd like
Anyway.
to get to Tiffany's, get my hair done. Anyway, go ahead.
They passed on, and as they climbed and drew near to the citadel, they felt the wind blowing in their faces, and they caught the glimmer of morning far away, a light growing in the southern sky. But it brought little hope to them, not knowing what evil lay before them, fearing to come too late. Darkness is passing, said Gandalf, but it still lies heavy on this city. At the gate of the citadel they found no guard. Then Beregond has gone, said Pippin more hopefully. They turned away and hastened along the road to the closed door. It stood wide open, and the porter lay before it. He was slain, and his key had been taken. Work of the enemy, said Gandalf. Such deeds he loves, friend at war with friend, loyalty divided in confusion of hearts. Now he dismounted, and bade Shadowfax return to his stable. For, my friend, he said, you and I should have ridden to the fields long ago, but other matters delay me. Yet come swiftly if I call.
With my mind, because my horse and I have a telepathic bond.
Look, Gandalf is just a horse girl, let's be honest.
Yeah.
They passed the door and walked on down the steep winding road. Light was growing, and the tall columns and carven figures beside the way went slowly by like gray ghosts. Suddenly the silence was broken, and they heard below them cries and the ringing of swords, such sounds as had not been heard in the hallowed places since the building of the city. At last they came to Rath Dinnan, and hastened towards the house of the stewards, moving in the twilight under its great dome. Stay! Stay! Cried Gandalf, springing forward to the stone stair before the door. Stay this madness! For there were the servants of Denethor with swords and torches in their hands, but alone in the porch upon the topmost step stood Beregond, clad in the black and silver of the guard, and he held the door against them. 2 of them had already fallen to his sword, staining the hallows with their blood, and the others cursed him, calling him outlaw and traitor to his master. Even as Gandalf and Pippin ran forward, they heard from within the house of the dead the voice of Denethor crying, Haste, haste! Do as I have bidden. Slay me this renegade, or must I do so myself?
Kill the liberal!
Thereupon the door, which Beregond held shut with his left hand, was wrenched open, and there behind him stood the lord of the city, tall and fell. A light like flame was in his eyes, and he held a drawn sword. Ah, I have acquired cat.
Oh dear. Or has cat acquired you? Wawa? Hello, Kitty. Oh, goodbye, internet.
No, she muted my mic.
Oh, that would be why.
I was talking and I was like, wait a second, I'm muted. All right. Well, here we are. Yes, hopefully she won't mute me again.
I can tell she doesn't approve of this activity.
She doesn't approve of any activity that doesn't involve having my complete attention at all times. She's been very, very cuddly since I got back.
Oh.
Anyway, where was I?
So shall I do it myself?
Oh yes.
Hand,
Then,
left hand.
Yes. Thereupon the door which Beregond held shut with his left hand was wrenched open, and there behind him stood the lord of the city, tall and fell. A light like flame was in his eyes, and he held a drawn sword. But Gandalf sprang up the steps, and the men fell back from him and covered their eyes. for his coming was like the incoming of a white light into a dark place, and he came with great anger. He lifted up his hand, and in the very stroke the sword of Denethor flew up and left his grasp, and fell behind him in the shadows of the house, and Denethor stepped backward before Gandalf as one amazed. I just had to mentally run that through my head as I was reading it, because it's like, wait, did Gandalf draw his sword? No, he didn't draw his sword.
Nope. He just disarmed Denethor with a wave of his hand. Like, whing!
Which, Denethor possibly didn't actually believe he could do.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think Denethor thought. I mean, he's has a hatred of wizards, and probably a disgust of them because he hasn't seen them do fuck all except study
and be like, wow, shit's bad, probably.
Yeah. Here I am with bad news. Bye. Yeah. The son's dead. Bye.
Yep. Sort of like Twitter.
Yes. What?
Like, here's something to make you upset, and goodbye. All right. I'm trying to balance a book on my lap, but also slightly on the cat, who is on the keyboard, but not on the mouse. So I'm not muted.
Excellent.
It's a whole thing over here. All right. What is this, my lord? Said the wizard. The houses of the dead are no places for the living. And why do men fight here in the Hallows when there is war enough before the gate? Or has our enemy come even to Rath Nen? Since when has the Lord of Gondor been answerable to thee? Said Denethor. Or may I not command my own servants? You may, said Gandalf, but others may contest your will when it is turned to madness and evil. Where is your son, Faramir? He lies within, said Denethor. Burning, already burning. They have set a fire in his flesh. But soon all shall be burned. The west has failed. It shall all go up in a great fire, and all shall be ended. Ash and smoke blown away on the wind. Then Gandalf, seeing the madness that was on him, feared that he had already done some evil deed, and he thrust forward with Aragorn and Pippin behind him, while Denethor gave back until he stood beside the table within. But there they found Faramir, still dreaming in his fever, lying upon the table. Wood was piled under it, and high all about it, and all was drenched with oil, even the garments of Faramir and the coverlets. But as yet no fire had been set to the fuel. Then Gandalf revealed the strength that lay hid in him, even as the light of his power was hidden under his grey mantle. He leaped up, and raising the sick man lightly, he sprang down again and bore him towards the door. But as he did so, Faramir moaned and called on his father in his dream. Denethor started, as one waking from a trance, and flame died in his eyes, and he wept, and said, Do not take my son from me. He calls for me. He calls, said Gandalf. You cannot come to him yet, for he must seek healing on the threshold of death, and maybe find it not. Whereas your part is to go out to the battle of your city, where maybe death awaits you. This you know in your heart. He will not wake again, said Denethor. Battle is vain. Why should we wish to live longer? Why should we not go to death side by side? Authority is not given to you, steward of Gondor, to order the hour of your death, answered Gandalf. And only the heathen kings, under the domination of the dark power, did thus, slaying themselves in pride and despair, murdering their kin to ease their own death. Then, passing through the door, he took Faramir from the deadly house and laid him on the bier on which he had been brought, and which had now been set on the porch. Denethor followed him and stood trembling, looking with longing on the face of his son, and for a moment all were silent and still, watching the Lord. And for a moment, while all were silent and still, watching the Lord in his throes, he wavered. Come, said Gandalf. We are needed. There is much that you can yet do.
Yep.
This is such a sad moment, God.
Right?
Then suddenly Denethor laughed. He stood up tall and proud again, and stepping swiftly back to the table, he lifted from it the pillow on which his head had lain. Then coming to the doorway, he drew aside the covering, and lo, he had between his hands a Palantir.
He had a Palantir?
He did have a Palantir!
Oh my god.
Who could have known? And as he held it up, it seemed to those that looked on that the globe began to glow with an inner flame, so that the lean face of the Lord was lit as with a red fire. That's real easy to say, thanks, Tolkien.
Yeah.
And
but also, what an image.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's literally burning with madness. Yay.
And it seemed cut out of hard stone, sharp with black shadows, noble, proud, and terrible. His eyes glittered. "Pride and despair," he cried. "Didst thou think that the eyes of the White Tower were blind? Nay, I have seen more than thou knowest, grey fool. Thy hope is but ignorance. Go then and labor in healing. Go forth and fight, vanity. For a little space you may triumph on the field, for a day. Against the power that now arises, there is no victory. To this city, only the first finger of his hand has yet been stretched. All is moving, and even now the wind of thy hope cheats thee, and wafts up Anduin a fleet with black sails. The west has failed. It is time for all to depart who would not be slaves. Such counsels will make the enemy's victory certain indeed," said Gandalf. "Hope on, then," laughed Denethor. "Do I not know thee, Mithrandir? Thy hope is to rule in my stead, to stand behind every throne, north, south, or west. I have read thy mind and its policies. Do I not know that you commanded this halfling here to keep silence? That you brought him hither to be a spy within my very chamber? And yet in our speech together I have learned the names and purpose of all thy companions. So, with the left hand thou wouldst use me for a little while as a shield against Mordor, and with the right bring this ranger from the north to supplant me. But I say,
I've always hated him. Daddy liked him better.
Damn it, Ecthelion.
Damn it, Ecthelion.
But I say to thee, Gandalf Mithrandir, I will not be thy tool. Well, you're already a tool, so you might as well be Gandalf.
Sure is acting like a tool.
I am steward of the house of Anarion. I will not step down to be the dotard chamberlain of an upstart. Even were his claim proved to me, still he comes but of the line of Isildur. I will not bow to such a one, the last of a red house, long bereft of lordship and dignity. What then would you have, said Gandalf, if your will could have its way? I would have things as they were in all the days of my life, answered Denethor, and in the days of my long fathers before me, to be the lord of this city in peace, and leave my chair to a son after me, who would be his own master and no wizard's pupil. But if doom denies this to me, then I will have naught, neither life diminished, nor love halved, nor honor abated. And that is an incredibly toxic attitude.
Yep.
To me, it would not seem that a steward who faithfully surrenders his charge is diminished in love or in honor, said Gandalf. And at the least you shall not rob your son of his choice while his death is still in doubt. At those words, Denethor's eyes flamed again, and taking the stone under his arm, he drew a knife and strode towards the bier. Baragon sprang forward and set himself before Faramir. So, cried Denethor, thou hadst already stolen half my son's love. Now thou stealest the hearts of my knights also, so that they rob me wholly of my son at the last. But in this at least thou shalt not defy my will, to rule my own end. Come hither, he cried to his servants. Come, if you are not all recreant. Then two of them ran up the steps to him. Can you imagine being one of those two and being like, yeah, I'm good at my job. Here's a torch.
Right.
Like, bro, this is not the time.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. Just no. Like, but obedience. That is the ultimate virtue.
Uh-huh. We call that a cult, kids.
Yes.
Swiftly, he snatched a torch from the hand of one and sprang back into the house. Before Gandalf could hinder him, he thrust the brand amid the fuel, and at once it crackled and roared into flame. Then Denethor leaped upon the table, and standing there wreathed in fire and smoke, he took up the staff of his stewardship that lay at his feet and broke it on his knee. Casting the pieces into the blaze, he bowed and laid himself on the table, clasping the palantir with both hands upon his breast. And it was said that ever after, if any man looked in that stone, unless he had a great strength of will to turn it to another purpose, he saw only two aged hands withering.
Ugh. Yuck. Uh-oh. Your video has frozen and I cannot hear you. So I don't think it's your microphone. Frozen video. Oh dear, oh dear. I don't know what the recording is doing. Because, like, I don't see you anymore, but that doesn't mean that the recording is seeing what I'm seeing. Waiting. Please don't be reading while I can't hear you. Oh, they're gone. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh dear. And Denethor is a drama queen. And he would have been a badass if he hadn't been a drama queen. And I'll just we'll get some more drawing done while we talk about stuff like how Denethor could not have run like he did in the movie all the way to the end of the Pier of Rock, even though that looked really freaking cool, because that's like 2.5 miles of running while on fire, and even Denethor couldn't do it. It's just too much. But I see why the filmmakers ignored that, because it looked really freaking cool. Oh, I hope they're coming back soon, because talking. I had meant to get this done, heck, at the end of March. Was hoping to have it done, in fact, in time for the equinox. But that clearly did not happen, because I have a tendency to stop what I'm doing for days or weeks at a time, because I just don't have it in me to do what I want to do. And it's like, if you're down to a very limited amount of energy, you're going to do the things that are necessary. Cool. Quinn will be a few minutes because they had to reboot. So I'll just hang out with you then, and we'll discuss things. So I did read on the interwebs, so it's not exactly reliable, that there were, let's draw for a while we do this, that Faramir and Eowyn had a son, and I couldn't find out what his name was. So if you know, leave a comment. And when I heard about that, I was like, oh, I hope they named him Baragond. You know, Faramir should totally name his son Baragond. We do know that Pippin named his son Faramir when he married Diamond of Longcleave, and that's fucking adorable. I would very much like to see the adventures of Faramir Took. Any fan writers put those together, because that would be excellent. The entire point of this page is that they're still in a kind of sepia tone, but I didn't draw it sepia tone because it's a whole lot easier to add that digitally. So we're going to have a bit of a hybrid when it comes to the book when it's printed. And I laugh when I hear about people who have run out of projects and don't know what to do next. And I'm like, dude, I will never run out of projects. Oh my God. That's so funny. Once I'm done with Balance Dance, I have probably Mermaid to do, because I've only done 16 Marvel Mermaids, and that's not enough. And I would very dearly love to be working on a book that I'm planning to do called This Is How We Process, in which I'm going to take all of the medical paperwork from my cancer fight and turn it into an art book with collage and drawings and comics and stuff. I need to process that because it's been a few years, and emotionally speaking, blood's kind of seeping under the door. I have not really dealt with shit the way I should have. So that's a thing that needs to happen. And when I'm done with that, there's 6 more pagan beast fables that I need to write and illustrate. I've done the one for, well, I haven't done the one for Samhain, but I've started the one for Samhain. I actually need that to be this way, I think. And I haven't really done the rest, but they'll come to me, right? And of course, I have to get the... Yay!
Hello! I have rebooted.
I like rebooting. I'm declaring that the proper grammar.
Accepted. All right. Settling back in. Do not eat my June's. I had to move her when I got up to unplug the router, and so now she has
No. Oh, okay. Phew. You froze for a second there, and I was like, no, not again.
I hope not again. I can't make any promises, but I'll do my best.
Okay.
For the next 12 minutes, I will try not to disappear.
Right, that's all we've got.
All right.
That's what we need. We need to get Faramir the frack out of there.
Right. So he laid down with the Palantir, and if any man looked in it thereafter, all they saw were 2 withered hands.
Burning in flames.
Which is bleh.
It's so gross. I have my old professor, acting professor, is a prosthetics person now who makes all kinds of mad shit. It's really freaking awesome to follow him on Instagram, except I need to be careful because every Monday he celebrates Mishap Monday by posting a real injury. An image of an actual injury.
Right. Well,
because, if you're a prosthetics engineer, you need to know what it looks like when someone shatters their ankle or
I don't like that.
Slices open their head with an axe or whatever. And of course, it's not like in the feed initially. It's like there's protected view thing. Push the
Mhm.
button if you want to see the picture. And sometimes I can resist the urge, but sometimes I'm like, I wonder what the injury is today. And then it's like, oh dear fucking God, why did I push the button?
Don't push the button.
Yeah, it's like looking into the Palantir, and I'm sure a couple of aged hands withering in flame is going to be one of the images. And the other thing is they won't let you unpush the button. That's the frustrating part. You can't re-hide it. It's just there now.
Yeah. What has been seen cannot be unseen.
Right? Ay, ay, ay.
All right. So, back to the Palantir that he shockingly did have. Who would have guessed?
Who would have guessed indeed?
Okay. Gandalf, in grief and horror, turned his face away and closed the door. For a while he stood in thought, silent upon the
Ew.
threshold. I'm sorry, it was just speak about your tone. Ew. Well, those outside heard the greedy roaring of the fire within. And then Denethor gave a great cry, and afterwards spoke no more, nor was ever again seen by mortal men.
Yeah, you think?
Right? Hopefully.
Yeah. Did they push the button on the Instagram?
So passes Denethor, son of Ecthelion, said
Damn it,
Gandalf.
Ecthelion.
Yuck. Then he turned to Baragond and the Lord's servants that stood there aghast. And so pass also the days of Gondor that you have known. For good or evil they are ended. Ill deeds have been done here. But let now all enmity that lies between you be put away, for it was contrived by the enemy, and works his will. You have been caught in a net of warring duties that you did not weave. But think, you servants of the Lord, blind in your obedience, that but for the treason of Baragond, Faramir, captain of the White Tower, would now also be burned. Bear away from this unhappy place your comrades who have fallen. And we will bear Faramir, steward of Gondor, to a place where he can sleep in peace, or die, if that be his doom.
Always so comforting.
Right? I mean, technically, this is a place he could have died.
Yeah.
Then Gandalf and Baragond, taking up the bier, bore it away towards the houses of healing, while behind them walked Pippin with downcast head. But the servants of the Lord stood gazing as stricken men at the house of the dead. And even as Gandalf came to the end of Rath Dinen, there was a great noise. Looking back, they saw the dome of the house crack, and smokes issue forth. And then with a rush and rumble of stone, it fell in a flurry of fire. But still unabated, the flames danced and flickered among the ruins.
Kind of wonder what the physics is there. Like, has the stone been cold so long that encasing a fire just broke it?
I would assume so. Like, there were fractures in it, and like it was probably pretty thin stone, because like you don't build a dome out of really thick stone, so it was like a thin piece of stone that had been there for a long time, and then it suddenly heated.
Yeah.
Thing.
I would love, I don't know what this decade's version of Mythbusters is, but I would love to know, like, how big the Pyre of Denethor would have to be in order to crack the stone dome overhead.
Well, also, like, how long did it take to actually kill Denethor? Like, because I'm just saying, it doesn't sound like they stood there for very long between when Gandalf was like, okay, closing the door.
Yep.
And when Denethor was like, I made a mistake.
I regret something.
Can I get a takey backsies?
Oh God, he cries out, but it doesn't tell us what. So what is it that Denethor is crying out? Ow!
Does anybody have any butter?
Oh, Mommy!
No regrets. Or maybe he's just, you know, when you take a mouthful of food and it's too hot and you make the like, ha, ha, ha,
yeah, That's it.
Maybe that's what he cried out, but just like really loud.
No. Ouch.
At length they came back to the steward's door, and Baragond looked with grief at the porter. "This deed I shall ever rue," he said. "But a madness of haste was on me, and he would not listen, but drew sword against me." Then, taking the key that he had wrested from the slain man, he closed the door and locked it. "This should now be given to the Lord Faramir," he said. "The Prince of Dol Amroth is in command in absence of the Lord," said
Who?
Who?
Oh, I feel like such a brat sometimes. Okay.
"But since he is not here, are we sure? Do we know what he looks like?
Yeah.
Has anybody seen him?
What are we talking about?
I must take this on myself. I bid you keep the key and guard it until the city is set in order again." Now at last they passed into the high circles of the city, and in the light of morning they went their way towards the houses of healing. And these were fair houses, set apart for the care of those who were grievously sick. But now they were prepared for the tending of men hurt in battle or dying. They stood not far from the citadel gate, in the sixth circle, nigh to its southward wall. And about them there was a garden and a greensward with trees, the only such place in the city. There dwelt the few women that had been permitted to remain in Minas Tirith, since they were skilled in healing or in the service of the healers. But even as Gandalf and his companions came carrying the bier to the main door of the houses, they heard a great cry that went up from the field before the gate, and arising shrill and piercing into the sky, passed and died away on the wind. But. Don't step on the keyboard. So I will leave it to you to judge from the proximity of this cat to the
To the That's the sound Denethor made. Ah! Uh-oh. The cat must have shut us off. I really kind of suck at keeping this in view, don't I? I apologize, humans. Right now we are stymied. I cannot get it any closer. Just trust me, it's boring. It's grass. You don't need to see me scribbling grass.
I trust you.
Thank you.
Also, as you can see from the proximity of this cat to the camera,
yes, she is quite engaged in what's going on.
She closed out all of my windows.
So that's what happened.
If you heard me go, that is indeed what happened.
That is all. Yeah. In fact, what I said before I realized you were gone was that's got to be the noise Denethor actually made. Ah!
That checks out, actually.
Right?
Every time anybody cries out from now on in Lord of the Rings, we're just going to go, ah! Don't do it, cat. Don't you chew on that cable.
But it's awesome, and it gets me attention.
That is true.
My twofers, like licorice.
Yeah, basically.
I've been doing oil pulling on my teeth.
It's not... Junie! One moment.
It's okay.
I am attempting to read an important and very dramatic piece of literature, Cat.
Cat has other plans.
Cat does have other plans. Okay. Ahem. So, they heard a great cry that went up from the field before the gate, and rising full and piercing into the sky passed. The witch couldn't stop crying. And died away on the wind. So terrible was the cry. For the moment, all stood still, And yet when it had passed, suddenly their hearts were lifted up in such a hope as they had not known since darkness came out of the east.
Oh.
And it seemed to them that the light grew clear and the sun broke through the clouds.
Yay!
Yay! Okay, we have like 1 page to get to the end of the chapter.
All right, let's do it.
But Gandalf's face was grave and sad, and bidding Beregond and Pippin to take Faramir into the houses of healing, he went up onto the walls nearby, and there, like a figure carven in white, he stood in the new sun and looked out. And he beheld with the sight that was given to him all that had befallen. He just rewinds it like a videotape.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
And when Éomer rode out from the forefront of his battle and stood beside those who lay upon the field, he sighed, and he cast his cloak about him again and went from the walls. And Beregond and Pippin found him standing in thought before the door of the houses when they came out.
I do love how his assumption is that he could have prevented Theoden from dying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, first of all, he kind of wanted to die. The man's old.
Yes.
Like dying was the plan, for fuck's sake.
Pretty much.
Why you gotta be all arrogant and shit?
You're asking Gandalf this.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
They looked at him, and for a while he was silent. At last he spoke. "My friends," he said, "and all you people of this city and of the western lands, things of great sorrow and renown have come to pass. Shall we weep or be glad? Beyond hope, the captain of our foes has been destroyed, and you have heard the echo of his last despair." Ah!
Ah!
"But he is not gone without woe and bitter loss. And that I might have averted, but for the madness of Denethor. So long has the reach of our enemy become, alas. But now I perceive how his will was able to enter into the very heart of the city.
I had no idea before. None.
Though the stewards deemed that it was a secret kept only by themselves, long ago I guessed that here in the White Tower at least one of the 7 seeing stones was preserved. I knew it all along.
I knew it all along. I didn't have to piece it together in the aftermath like some people might think I did.
Just now.
Just now.
Whilst I was rewinding the battle.
Like, shit, a Palantir. Okay.
In the days of his wisdom, Denethor would not presume to use it to challenge Sauron, knowing the limits of his own strength. But his wisdom failed, and I fear that as the peril of his realm grew, he looked in the stone and was deceived. Far too often, I guess, since Boromir departed. He was too great to be subdued to the will of the dark power. He saw nonetheless only those things which that power permitted him to see. The knowledge which he obtained was doubtless often of service to him. Yet the vision of the great might of Mordor that was shown to him fed the despair of his heart until it overthrew his mind. Now I understand what seemed so strange to me, said Pippin, shuddering at his memories as he spoke. The Lord went away from the room where Faramir lay, and it was only when he returned that I first thought he was changed, old and broken. It was in the very hour that Faramir was brought to the tower. Oh, sorry, that's not Gandalf. It was in the very hour that Faramir was brought to the tower that many of us saw a strange light in the topmost chamber, said Beregond. But we have seen that light before, and it has long been rumored in the city that the Lord would at times wrestle in thought with his enemy.
Everyone was just okay with that?
Everyone was like, huh,
Yeah.
someone's having a psychic wrestling match with evil up there.
Yeah. Good thing he's tough and totally unbreakable and not liable to, like,
go
set
crazy.
Fire to himself in despair.
Yeah. Good thing, huh?
Very good thing.
Anyway, lunch?
Yeah. Good thing Ecthelion treated him well.
Good thing Ecthelion was a great parent.
Yep.
Let's see. Alas, then I have guessed rightly, said Gandalf. Thus the will of Sauron entered into Minas Tirith, and thus I have been delayed here. And here I shall still be forced to remain, for I shall soon have other charges, not Faramir only. Now I must go down to meet those who come. I have seen a sight upon the field that is very grievous to my heart, and greater sorrow may yet come to pass. Come with me, Pippin. But you, Baragon, should return to the citadel and tell the chief of the guard there what has befallen. It will be his duty, I fear, to withdraw you from the guard. Say to him that if I may give him counsel, you should be sent to the houses of healing, to be the guard and servant of your captain, and to be at his side when he awakes, if that shall ever be again.
Because I can't be comforting.
Yeah, right. For by
when he
you he
awakes,
was
or,
saved
you know,
from the
if.
fire. Go now, I shall return soon. With that he turned away and went with Pippin down towards the lower city. And even as they hastened on their way, the wind brought a grey rain, and all the fires sank, and there arose a great smoke before them. I also love how they're like, hey, Baragon, go confess to treason. Good luck, man.
Yep. You know, if my words bear any weight, then you'll be fine, but I'm not going to stick around to see if they do.
Pretty much.
Right. Why not just tell Baragon to go? Never mind. I get it.
Something, something honor, something, something duty.
Yeah. Duty.
All right, I'm going to go feed this cat so that she stops trying to eat my microphone cord.
And then she will just snuggle you.
Yes,
for the rest of the time.
That's
Excellent. Are we on for next week?
Yes, indeed.
All right. Well, this has been fun.
As always.
Despite the internet being a bitch.
Internet.
I love you.
I love you too.
See you next week. Cuidado.
Llamas.
Bye.
Bye.